Welcome to the EchoCast, episode 50. I am Bon Diesel, aka Hype Master Redux. I don't know, I'm gonna stop trying to just copy That's Funny Games, kind of funny games, whatever they are. If you're new, welcome. This is a Division 2, for the most part, podcast. Talking about the game, talking about the updates, talking about the upcoming release, talking about the community, talking about the drama. This might as well be Jerry Springer. Not really. Maybe, kind of sometimes. Let's get right into it. State of the Game recap. State of the Game this week featured Hamish and Trick Dempsey. I made a video on this, on all of the topics in a little more depth, so I'll link that if you really want to watch like 14 minutes of this, but I'll try to be quicker. I say with main points, but now that I look at what I typed, there's just so much stuff. It was awesome. There's so much information. I know people that literally changed their mind about pre-ordering because of that stream. I think it was Trick Dempsey and how they were probably one of the most fun people to ever hear talk about their job. Trick seems like they just so genuinely enjoy what they do, and it's just really cool seeing that passion. And we see it time and time again with the people who work on this game. It's like every person that we hear who works on this game loves it. So big things we talked about: strongholds, bounties, in-game stuff. Let's get into it. So basically, through the 1 to 30 play, each faction has a stronghold, and we beat them throughout the game, throughout the 1 to 30 leveling up process. The very last one that you beat, I believe, is going to be the Capital and the True Sons. That's not really confirmed. Sorry if that feels like a spoiler, but I can at least tell you I'm not positive, but I'm relatively sure, but I could definitely be wrong. So after you beat that last stronghold, you move up to World Tier 1. Basically, they describe that there's this moment of excitement and happiness. The city's free, everything's good to go. Good job, Division agents. You did it, you saved the day. And then the Black Tusk just flop their tusk out on the desk, and they say, look at this. And they take over the whole city. So when they show up, they take over the whole map. They take over all the missions, the strongholds. They can blockade the settlements. They can basically completely reverse everything you just spent the last 40 hours doing. And welcome to the end game. Welcome to World Tier 1 at this point. It's worth noting that this is when you're offered your first specialization. The whole idea is that, well, there's these new super bad enemies and you need more gear, you need something more powerful. Here's your first specialization. So the big thing that you have to do is to climb the world tiers. The idea basically is that now you're retaking the whole map again, but instead of taking it back from just the enemy factions you meet at the beginning of the game, you're now taking it back from the Black Tusk, who have taken everything from everyone. The big thing you need to do is to take down the strongholds again, and this time they're being held by Black Tusk, and in order to even get to play in them, they will each have 2 associated invaded missions that the Black Tusk have taken over. And it shows on the map. So if you want to do the stronghold on Roosevelt Island, it'll have a map representation showing which 2 invaded missions you have to knock out in order to play the stronghold. So you knock out those 2 invaded missions, it opens up the stronghold, you beat the stronghold, and you move up to the next world tier. When the game releases, the max world tier will be World Tier 4. And until the Black Tusk stronghold, which is titled Basin, unlocks, you won't be able to move up to World Tier 5. We're under the impression that will happen after release. My guess is a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and then I suspect we'll get the raid a couple weeks after that. There's lots of reasons for this. They didn't really give any official ones. My guess is, one, to make sure the loot system isn't completely broken before people get their like permanent world tier 5 gear, and before people get into the raid, so they can try to make sure that there aren't any loot caves or anything that's going to exploit the game. And I suspect they might still be working on some of this stuff. I know it's a crazy idea, but it's possible. This stuff is still a bit of a work in process. So I know people don't like the world tier 5 thing. Too bad, is at the end of the day kind of how I look at it. So yeah, there's that. Beyond the invaded missions and strongholds, the rest of the map and the side activities have all been taken over as well. Control points will need to be controlled again, and when you reach world tier 4, the control points can actually be upgraded by the enemy based on the missions that you do around the control point. So if the hyenas have one of the control points, you knock out some hyena activities around the stronghold or around the control point actually upgrades, and it can upgrade so high, I believe up to level 4, that it becomes essentially a legendary control point, which will give legendary gear. So it seems like it's worth letting these control points upgrade, because your rewards from the loot closet are essentially bumped up a whole lot. Bounties were talked about pretty extensively in this game. Bounties are in the whole game. The world tier 1, you get a new character called the Snitch. The Snitch reveals and adds another way to get bounties, which we'll talk about in a moment, but it also reveals a wandering vendor who's a gun runner known as Cassie Mendoza. She will move weekly, and there will actually need to be tasks done by you to unlock her. And when you do, she carries exclusive and very powerful weaponry. It sounds like she's going to be a pretty essential person to get a hold of. That the Snitch, I believe, is the one who will give you access to a priority network target system. That's again bounties, but this time you have to go over a couple low-level bounties that will lead you to a much more powerful one. The system that I've kind of seen it compared to is a Shadow of Mordor-ish type of system. There is another system called the Deck of 52 that they talked about. That's basically seems like another bounty. And each, so it's a deck of cards, a deck of playing cards. And for each suit, it represents a different faction. And as you go up the line of the suit from the 2 all the way up to the ace, you have to take these targets out, and you get rewards for them, and you get their card. And the whole idea here is that you're working up this network of bounties, and this system is actually a kind of a copy off of something that they did in Iraq and that they've done in other wars, where they show the leadership of the country that you're invading, and it's kind of like a hit list. It's kind of a target list of people to go after. You can use target intel to replay a lot of these bounties. I assume the regular ones you get during the whole game, and maybe some of these other ones. I wasn't completely sure just from watching. You can also get bounties at safe houses. They'll have kind of a situation board in each safe house that you can check, and it will give you activities to do, which I believe include some bounties. Last, there was something talked about that's a SHD priority mission system, which so we know about the projects that you can do for the settlements and the base of operations. Well, this SHD priority mission system is essentially a project, but you're doing it for the Shade Network. You don't have to turn it in anywhere. Basically, it'll tell you to do multiple tasks. Once you complete them, then you get some big reward directly from Shade. And then the last thing they talked about was confirmation that the Division 2 hashtag Division 2. Wait, hold on. Hashtag the Division 2 photos is to be used to enter their contest that they're going to be doing. I will highly suggest you also tag all of your screenshots with hashtag Division shots. There's actually a Division Shots Twitter account that you can follow that I run, and I will be collecting screenshots and doing and retweeting people and sharing and doing all of that fun stuff. And I think beginning in April, I'm going to do a contest every month. And right now it looks like people want Division Shots merch. For whatever reason. So we'll do a contest of some type and just keep an eye out for that information. So that was the state of the game. It was a ton of information. I don't have a ton of reaction to it other than I have no idea how anyone's ever going to have time to actually beat this game. I'm sure Marco will have all the content completed day one, but for us, you know, normies, for us humans, I have no idea how people are going to do all of this with like a full-time job and a family. I'm thinking about that baby inside Bay Diesel right now, and I just don't. I'm just already sorry for being a bad father, but and I'm sure they'll be fine. So okay, so let's move on to some Division news. So we had a launch trailer. There's a whole bunch of stuff here, so bear with me. The launch trailer honestly didn't really blow my mind in any way. There was also a cinematic TV spot that was pretty cool that showed a little bit more footage of this, the rendered, kind of the CGI that showed the Air Force One coming down and all that cool stuff. The launch trailer I don't really think had anything super special, but it was still neat to see. There was a really neat Phoenix Edition unboxing video done, and it dropped some hints and details that I don't think we've gotten before. It showed where all of the missions and strongholds were. There was a quote, "What's happening here?" Marked near where Arlington Cemetery is. A lot of people want that to be in the game. I've been suspecting for a while that Arlington Cemetery might be around where we start and we go into DC, maybe kind of a Brooklyn type situation where we're kind of just there to learn the game, and then we go to DC and we stay there. But we will have to see. Ronald Reagan Airport was shown again as the raid location. The bottom right of the map had a scribble that says, "What about New York?" Which is interesting to me. That could just be a throwback to the game and the first one. Maybe just something to make people smile. I don't know. I don't want to speculate about it beyond that, but I do think it's interesting that, you know, we obviously haven't forgotten about New York City. There's a bunch of weird symbols on this map that I've put on the community map, that there are these yellow biohazard areas. And I don't think we've really heard anything about this. We know that the DC-62 chemical is yellow. So I'm assuming there's these like maybe contaminated areas around the map that you have to do something in, or that you can go into, but only for so long, or I'm assuming there's something going on. And by one of them, I think there's 7 or 8 of them, it says who shot first. So I don't know. Well, actually, now I was just thinking about it. I wonder if those locations are where maybe stockpiles of DC-62 might be. I guess that could make sense. I don't know, but I think those are interesting. Again, it just adds to the list of things that, despite how much we know about the Division 2 at this point, I feel like there's still going to be a ton to learn. So yeah, I don't know. I thought that was neat. Something else that's super neat, I think a lot of people will appreciate, is at the top right of the Phoenix Edition map. There's a thing that says who will be the last. And myself and it seems like a few others are speculating pretty heavy that this might be where we see a survival type game mode. You know, a lot of people are speculating that the third DLC will be survival. I'm actually speculating that the first DLC might be, now that I've looked at it and thought about it more, this going to the outskirts of DC. I don't know. It seems like it actually, I think, would be kind of cool if they just drop survival on us real quick, but I don't know. And then the last thing I thought was neat is that on this map, there were a bunch of things called communities, of little house symbols that were noted. And what's interesting about that is that these aren't settlements. They are not safe houses. They are something different. And I don't think they've talked about it. What I do know is that none of them were in the playable area during the beta. So I'm assuming there must be some other system for civilians or something. I don't know, but just add it to the list of things we don't know yet. And the thing is, that's fine. Like we don't need to know everything. Unfortunately, I'm a little worried sometimes that it seems like people want to extract and find every little bit of information about everything, to the point of harassing the employees about it. But especially like the DLCs, like, hey, let's let those DLCs be exciting when they're on their way. For now, let's just play the darn game, or at least that's how I look at it. I will say, after getting this, I significantly updated the community map. I recolored a bunch of things, redid a bunch of stuff, and I will try to put the link in that down at the in my comment down in the YouTube. And you'll probably have to look to the YouTube link if you want to get a lot of these links and information, because I don't know how to link it any other way. So sorry. The bounties and projects Intel Annex was posted on the official site. It does help go into a little bit more detail, but nothing I remember reading it was like really big news or anything new. There was a really good Engon podcast with Hamish and Bjorn Lindberg, and he is the online technical director for Division 2. It's mostly information that a lot of people already know about how the game works, and how games in general work on like online systems. But it's worth listening to, and there's definitely some tidbits. There's some cool stuff on there, just learning in general about how they want to handle things and how the game works. Talking about tick rates and stuff like that. They didn't reveal a tick rate, but basically it sounds like the 4v4 skirmish can have a significantly higher tick rate than, say, the open world or the DZ, simply because it just requires less information to be transferred. So definitely check that out. I listened to it on SoundCloud, but I'm sure you can find it other places. It's the Engon podcast. Let's see here. The official progression graphic was released, and it goes into some of the finer points of the game and explains things more thoroughly. If you play Division 1, you probably don't really need this, even though it looks like it's still useful. But if you know someone who didn't play the Division 1 at all, this might be a good starter for them to kind of see how the gear levels work and the different qualities of gear and things like that. And then today, I'm recording this on Saturday, the official Division 2 account on Twitter showed a video that gives a quick, but I think really good news amount of detail on the character creation system. Now, if you're not listening to this until Thursday or Friday, you will have already seen this, but if you listen to this before then I mean, I'm pretty darn impressed. I knew that they would do the character creation a little bit more complicated because they said they would, but not what I saw. It was a lot more than I expected. So awesome. I get to make some chubby bald guy like myself. I can't wait. With community topics and discussion, I don't really have anything that big to go on with that today. One thing I think was kind of cool, that while playing the beta, it was pretty much confirmed that in various ways that there's two factions that exist that they haven't talked about in any official matter. So the Underground, which if you've heard or seen the videos of the chainsaw heavy in the Underground, who runs at you, and there's a bunch of dudes with them who use like knives and have chains all over their body and stuff. That's the Underground faction, which, that's about all I know about them. And then there's also a faction called the Ambushers. And these guys are the ones who kind of have a ninja look. Some of them have bows, and some of them run around with like trash can lids as shields. It's really odd. We've had no like official word on these two, but I'm cool with that. That's a good thing. I suspect that means that there's a lot more to them, and that we just may have to wait a while to figure more of it out. But we'll have to see. Moving on to listener questions. Brian Hilder asked, I think this was last week, what do you think the 3 new specializations will be? And do you think the game will have issues balancing the 6 specializations as they did with gear sets in Division 1? Well, the 3 specializations, I can barely even guess. I've looked at some of the pictures and all that. I think the minigun, Gatling gun thing was Sorry, yawn. I think the minigun thing was pretty obviously hinted, but we'll have to see. When it comes to other ones, I've thought about something maybe like a like a big like auto cannon type of thing. There's essentially a 20 millimeter rifle. It's kind of like basically a handheld cannon that has like a 4-round magazine that I did a video on as a speculation. I speculate maybe like a deagle, like a super deagle. It seems like a lot of these weapons are kind of unique, but at the same time we also have just like this giant sniper rifle, so I don't want to act like that's the most unique thing on earth. So regular guns I think can be in there, but they have to be kind of spectacular. My guess, one I would love to see is an HCAR. It's essentially a modern variant of the BAR from World War II. It's basically just an LMG, but I think it's this really unique looking gun, and it could be kind of like an AR LMG hybrid that has some weird function. Maybe it does like super suppression or something like that. I don't know. But I honestly have no idea. They're kind of throwing me for a loop. And when it comes to the balancing, I really think I really think that it won't be that bad, because they can pretty significantly handle any issues with the specialization weapons and even the talents separately from everything else. And one person with sharpshooter and another person with sharpshooter could be so different, because one may have gear on that focuses on sniper rifles and MMRs and make them super powerful there, but you may have someone who's a sharpshooter who has like AR gear or SMG gear to kind of balance themselves out. So a part of me does worry that it's just gonna be so complicated they can't do anything near balancing. But I'm gonna leave that to I'll worry about it when we need to worry about it kind of a thing. Shami Soul asked, I think it's pretty big. What do you expect from episode 3? And one more, what do you think we will see? Let's see, do you think we will see more story driven DLCs around this time around? Yes, I think I think these will I think they've already said each of the DLCs will have 2 more story missions. I believe they've even said there's a specific focus on story in these DLCs, and yeah, so I don't think that's a thing at all. From the episode 3, I don't know, it's all blurred out. Everyone's, like I said before, predicting survival. I'm not. I think survival comes at a different time, and honestly, if I could predict what it was, I'd probably be disappointed. The last question I have here today is Only One Hurricane. Says, I know the consensus is that there will be a minigun specialization. What do you think the other 2 will be? Yeah, I already kind of answered that one. So yeah, I hope for, maybe I'm just not creative enough. I don't know. Maybe a rail gun or something. It kind of depends on how willing they are to go into the sci-fi realm, which as the game goes on, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little more of that, but we'll have to see. And my last section here is I have content updates. So I will be running an Xbox clan for Division 2. Right now it's about half full. I think we have 20 or 25 people already who have said they want to be in. So it's gonna be pretty casual, mostly just to upgrade the clan stuff. If people want to run raids together, run missions together, do PvP together, I think that's a great place to start. Because I think people can kind of show like, hey, I want to do this, and people can hook up that way. I mean, I want to max this thing out with 50 people and be one of the most active clans in the game. If people are inactive for an extended amount of time, I'm probably gonna boot you. So if you come in, just be sure that you're looking to really play quite a bit, and especially to work on the clan stuff. I had 3 new videos this week. You might want to check them out. I'm gonna do. I'm actually recording a video right after this as kind of a Division 1 to Division 2 recap and hype video or something. I don't know. So check those out. I did a community map update, state of the game recap, and just my thoughts on the open beta. So you can check that out. It's just Bond Diesel on YouTube. We hit 10,000 listens on the podcast, and as of recording this, I think we're actually at 11,000 already. The podcast, this is so successful. It's doing so well. And I thank each and every one of you for coming and listening, whether this is your first time or if you've listened to all 50 episodes now. I found that I think we're at the time of this recording, we were ranked 38th on iTunes for a video games podcast. There's a lot of video games podcasts. Most of them are not about one game. I think maybe the Destiny one is, and it's ranked pretty high. But yeah, holy crap, we're ranked so well, and I really appreciate you guys. What's crazy is that iTunes only actually makes up like a third or a fourth of my listens, which is surprising to me. I thought it'd be much more, but apparently you guys are listening in many ways, and thank you so much, and please continue to. And I'm always open to some constructive criticism if you have any. I minimalized my stream setup quite a bit and added an intermission screen, and I did a bunch of stuff. I'm trying to get that looking a little bit better for y'all, and I really do want the stream to be a nice experience. Even though I plan on streaming a lot more now that Division 2 is coming, I still highly suspect it's going to be kind of a quantity and quality thing. I'm sure I'll have streams where I sit down for 6 or 7 hours and play, but I still really think I bring my best streams when I stream for 2 or 3 hours at a time. And then I also want to spend a little bit of time playing this game on my own. So please don't hate me. To quickly cover and completely get past, about a week ago, I sent a tweet on Twitter that said, if essentially, I'm paraphrasing, if your only reasons for disliking Division 2 PvP is how many hours you played Division 1 PvP, I don't think that your opinion is valid or whatever. And I suggested that maybe bring your resume, as some people have commented on it. Talk about the other games you played too, and how you think ideas from those games could help Division 1 or help Division 2. Well, that was met with some interesting response, and essentially what I was saying was, so I see many comments on many different platforms. I see things on YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, Discord, Instagram, and a theme I was noticing, and I'm sure I saw one of these when I made this tweet, was, well, I played 2,000 hours of PvP on Division 1, and I think Division 2 PvP sucks. Well, my point was, I think an opinion that simple and without any real information sucks. So I stated that. And then the way people took it was, Bon does not think that anyone who played PvP in Division 1 should have an opinion, which, in the nicest way possible, if that's the way you took it, you either don't know me at all, or you wanted to be mad at me. I'll let you decide which one it was, but don't bring that crap here, man. Message me, say, hey, what did you mean by that? Or, something, maybe just ask a question. Because all the people who got mad in that thread, even some people I don't like in there, I was not talking about any of them. All the people who seemed upset by what I said, I'll give reasoning behind their thoughts, even if I don't completely agree with it. And then the fun thing was multiple people then said, well, you didn't play Division 1 PvP, so you don't get to have an opinion. So they were instantly hypocrites. And they were wrong. Up until around 1.7, I played lots of PvP. It's just, I think it was bad. I don't think PvP in Division 1 is very good. I don't think it's competitive in any way. I think it's kind of like an arcade sideshow thing. And I just got bored of it. So now, unfortunately, some of these people either have never paid attention to me at all, or came into the community much too late to know that I played PvP. And I guess that's on me somehow. I don't know. I guess I should have kept playing something I didn't like and I thought was bad. But I did play PvP in Division 1, I promise. Probably not thousands of hours like everyone else, but I played with people who knew what they were doing and enjoyed it. And I was a very deadly damage dealing healer. So believe it or not, that is up to you. But at the end of the day, if people want to be mad about stuff, I've found that I'm a great person for them to target for that. I can definitely word things better or just not say things sometimes, but I'm also not gonna withhold my opinions and thoughts on stuff because I'm afraid of offending people. If people are gonna be sensitive and stuff like that, if they're gonna get mad without talking to me, that's up to them. If I ever say anything that makes you mad, but you aren't positive I'm meaning for it to be that way, I highly suggest just dropping me a word and saying hello. I don't know if there's anyone I've ever talked to, for the most part, who continued to dislike me after we chatted, but I'm probably wrong. That's over. That's done. Okay, so stream schedule for the week of release on Division 2. I will be streaming the minute it releases on Monday night / Tuesday morning. I'll be streaming twice on Tuesday during the day. I'll be streaming on Wednesday in the afternoon. I will be back on Friday in the morning and the afternoon. I'm taking Tuesday and Friday off, and then Saturday morning I'm going to be playing off stream as well. I want to play the 1 to 30 completely on my own. I want to just get in there and enjoy that game. When I'm streaming, I'm going to be straight up. I might not be as interactive as I typically am. You know, we've been waiting 3 years for this. I really love the lore and the story of this game, and I want to enjoy it. And if you guys want to come along for the ride, I'm happy to have you. If not, that's cool too. I understand. And then the last thing, just I really appreciate everyone who's checking this out, even though I had my little ranty complaint about the tweet stuff and all that little drama stuff. You know, that just all is what it is. I mean, this game, I definitely didn't think I would find the game I enjoyed the most, maybe ever, as like a 28-year-old dude. I definitely never thought I would do something like streaming. I never thought I would go to E3. I never thought I'd be a star player. I never thought I would meet people from all over the world. I never thought I would do a podcast or make YouTube videos or any of this stuff, and this game has given me that, on top of giving me one of my favorite just stories I've ever gotten to play or do or whatever. So you know, I want to thank everyone who listens, everyone in the community. I want to thank the people who made the game and just the game itself. I want to thank Rick Velassi. And I'm really excited for what Division 2 brings. You know, I'm Division 1, I bought a house, I got married, I did a whole bunch of cool stuff, and now I know I'm gonna have a baby during Division 2. We'll see what that brings to all of this stuff, but it's really neat how all this stuff has gone, and I'm just really proud of everything, of this podcast, of the people who I get to talk to and interact with, both the community and the devs and everything. I'm just really excited to see what this brings, and I really hope that in each person in their own way gets some satisfaction out of what's about to happen, and I just hope everyone has fun and is able to just sit back and just enjoy themselves a bit. So there we go. If you like the podcast, please follow on whatever platform you're using. If you're on iTunes, please rate the podcast and leave a review. If you check out the podcast on YouTube and you want to see more, please subscribe, like the video, and comment below, because it helps me and it helps the channel. And I'm on Twitch, where I stream multiple times a week, and on Twitter, both as Bond Diesel, where you can find a bunch of my other links as well. And that's all I have. Until next time.